welcome to episode number 98 of the Cheesesteaks and Controllers podcast, presented by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, iHeart Radio. That's right, we are 2 away from the big 100, moving right along here towards that milestone. Got things planned for that. Very excited for you to hear it in 2 weeks' time. But right now, though, we got some things to talk about in the world of esports and video games. We have our Philadelphia Fusion have finally started their season, and I thought I was going to be able to talk about great things, but now it's only good things after Thursday morning's result, as I'm recording on Thursday night as usual. There are things we have to address there, but then there's also the upcoming game convention, not conventions, but like events like Summer Games Fest, Tribeca Festival. We're going to run down all of the June events. I'm not going to go through the whole summer because I feel like there are things that may still happen between now and then, and we're going to discuss those too. Will these things happen? When will they happen? So on and so forth. We'll get into all that. And then in honor of the Summer Games reveal and announcement binge that we're about to go on, I'm going to look back at some of the best trailers ever made. Some of my favorite, most memorable game trailers from back in the day, no matter when it came out. Obviously, it's not going to encompass like the entirety of gaming history, because I don't know that gaming trailers really existed in the Super Nintendo era. If they did, they were just commercials. But this is like the trailers that you would see at an E3 or at one of these streaming events. Something like that is the kind of thing I'm going for in the final segment of the show. I hope you agree with what I have to say in that moment. But before we do anything else, as is usual, it's time to do the 6 in 60 seconds. Dark Zero Esports wins the Rainbow Six Siege Charlotte Major in thrilling fashion, defeating Astralis 3-2 in front of the first live Rainbow Six crowd post-COVID. 4 teams remain in the League of Legends Mid-Season Invitational. China's Royal Never Give Up will face North America's Evil Geniuses, and Korea's T1 will take on the European Union's G2 Esports. Panda Global has announced the Panda Cup, the first officially licensed Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Melee tournaments in collaboration with Nintendo, starting in June with an over $100,000 prize pool. Epic Games has announced that the Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 2 finale, called Collision, will take place in-game on Saturday, June 4th at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Sony has announced that after the success of God of War and Horizon on PC, half of PlayStation's first-party releases will also be on PC and mobile by 2025. And finally, Activision has announced that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the next one upcoming, not the original Modern Warfare 2, will launch October 28th with a full reveal coming in June. Those are your 6 in 60 seconds. Yes, those are the 6 in 60 seconds for the week. The headlines, the big things that are coming out in the near future, or the things that have already happened. New Call of Duty, always exciting, but I feel like there's more excitement around a Modern Warfare or whatever Infinity Ward is doing, just because of their lineage in Call of Duty ever since Call of Duty 4 way back in 2007. Interesting to hear that Sony is pivoting to PC and mobile as well. Never thought that would happen, but I guess the numbers don't lie when it comes to God of War and Horizon, so got to get in on that while you can. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Fusions, shall we? Overwatch League is in its 5th season. We are in week 3 of competition in the kickoff Clash segment of the year. We're in week 4 now. Week 3 was last week and included for the first time the Asia Pac region, including your Philadelphia Fusion, still playing in the eastern side of the world due to COVID restrictions and not really knowing where things would be at the beginning of the season. Just wanted to get ahead of it and stay in Korea, as all of their players are from that area. Makes perfect sense to me, as much as I don't like getting up at 6 a.m. to watch matches every morning. First week of matches for your Philadelphia Fusion. I had said before to Sean Brace during the Daily Ticket last week's show, this week's show, we talked about it as well. But last week's show, I said it would take me probably the first match to get a read on what this team is going to look like. Just a lot of questions, a lot of things up in the air, considering how many rookies are on the team and, the overarching Overwatch 2 5-on-5 narrative that is going throughout the entire year. And we were playing the defending champion Shanghai Dragons, did not know how that was going to pan out, and the answer was we blew their doors off. 3-0, a clean sweep for your Philadelphia Fusion, looking absolutely stellar in those games, and then looking even better against the Guangzhou Charge on Sunday, 2 days later of last week, beating them 3-0 as well. I happened to see a tweet after that match that highlighted one of the players' statistics, and I saved it for this podcast. Now, Zest, who is one of the rookies on the team, one of the newest players on the Fusion this year, was using Genji versus that Guangzhou in that Sunday match to go 2-0. He inflicted over 13,000 points of damage. He had 7 ultimate kills, 2 solo kills, 19 final blows, and 27 total eliminations. That is unheard of production, especially for a rookie. Gave me a lot of confidence coming out of that first weekend. 2-0, didn't lose a single map, +6 differential, top of the table. Things looked great. I was excited for this next weekend of competition as we have a match every single day from Thursday morning to Sunday morning to get to 6 matches, which is the kickoff clashes, how many matches they're playing. And then I woke up this morning, again, recording Thursday morning on the 26th, the day before the podcast goes out. And they were playing the Seoul Dynasty. Seoul Dynasty is a team that they perennially have issues with. Last week, I mistakenly said that the Seoul Dynasty knocked the Fusion out of the playoffs last year. That was 2 years ago. Please forgive my pandemic-addled brain. Last year, San Francisco knocked Philadelphia out. So seeing Seoul again this year, you always have that. You knew that they had knocked us out of the playoffs at least one year. You had that in the back of your head. You really wanted to beat them. And then the Fusion came out and laid a tremendous egg, losing 3-0 and knocking down 2 spots from first to third in the rankings in the Eastern side. Not a big loss, obviously. There are still 3 matches to be played. Between now and the end of the weekend, we could end up back at the top of the table. We could end up at the bottom of the table or close to it. As long as we're in the top 4, we'll move to next weekend and the kickoff clash regional tournaments. But right now, we need to focus on the rest of the week's matches. And honestly, I came in with high hopes, but after seeing what happened with Seoul, I may need to temper some of my expectations going into the rest of the weekend. Now, the opponents that we have coming up tomorrow, or technically by the time this podcast goes out, the first match, the next match on their schedule, the Chengdu Hunters, will have already happened. It's again scheduled for 6 a.m. Eastern Time. This podcast normally comes out at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to go back to the youtube.com/Overwatch League, find the replay when it is available. I believe it is also going to be the encore at 12:30, so you can watch it on their live stream as well. But I wanted to say that they were going to beat the crap out of Chengdu because Chengdu is 5th. They're 1-2 with a -2 map differential, ripe for the taking. But then we laid this egg against Seoul. Now, obviously, Seoul is a better team, 10-5 in maps, so +5 differential, 3-1. The exact opposite record of the Chengdu Hunters, actually. But I'm sorry, they're 4-6. They have -2 differential. Forgive me, I was looking at the wrong line. But now that I've seen this match against Seoul, I have some doubts. I'm wondering if the inexperience of the rookies is coming back to haunt them. I wonder if the rookies just came out strong because it was their first ever season and they wanted to make a good impression, and now things are cooling off, and this is where we're actually going to be. Now, Chengdu could be the medicine that we need. We beat them up. We go to 4-1. I'm sorry. We go to 3-1 with a +6 differential. Should we sweep them? And then from there, the sky's the limit. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen against Chengdu. I really can't predict anything between now and the end of the weekend. Although I will say I do think the Valiant is a win, just because the Valiant are 0-3 with a -4 differential. Can't beat anybody, just picking up where they left off last year, not being very good. I'd like to think that we'll come out of that match with a victory on Saturday. But then Sunday we have the Hangzhou Spark, who are second in the East right now, 3-1 with a +4 differential, and who will I believe, be rested as the Fusion play 4 straight games this weekend after only playing 2 last weekend, which is a little weird when you think about it. But I believe Hangzhou plays tomorrow and then Sunday. Oh, okay, no. All right, I am wrong about that. I am happy about that. They play Saturday and Sunday. So both teams will be coming off a game the previous day. Granted, Philadelphia will be coming off of a game every day in the weekend, Thursday through Sunday, but it's not like Hangzhou has a day to rest. They will be right back into it with us on Sunday. I just hope the gas doesn't run out. 4 straight days of playing actual matches is a lot. It takes a toll. Obviously, they scrimmage every day, so they're always playing Overwatch and trying to get better. But having it actually mean something in the standings is a whole different animal. So to have to play 4 straight against teams who are now top, 2 of the teams being 1-2 in the division, it's a tall task. And if they come out of this, honestly, if they come out of this 3-3 with a positive map differential, I think that's enough to get them into the top 4 for the regional kickoff Clash tournament next week. It'll be close. They'll be probably teetering in that 4th seed. But I do think that if they go 3-3, have a positive map differential, I think that's all they need. They also need to play more matches than sweeps. They've had 3 matches. There have been 3 sweeps, 2 of them positive, 1 of them negative. I need to see how they do in longer series, because I need to know what their endurance and their mental fortitude is like for later in the year, because that's going to come up, especially if they continue to get to the big matches and fall short, as they tend to do. Eventually, the best of 5s turn into best of 7s. They become marathons, and you can't have that later in the year, just the endurance factor being a problem that could cost you the title. So I need to see a couple of matches that go a little further than 3 maps, maybe a 4 or best, or use all 5. I would appreciate that as well. But I don't. As for this weekend, where I think they'll be come Monday morning on Memorial Day, I really do. I'm probably going to say 4-2. That's what I'm confident in saying. 4-2 with a positive differential, just because I don't know what to expect from Hangzhou. Being second in the roster, I could be wrong. Now, the power rankings tell me I'm wrong. Granted, these power rankings are from last week before we lost. Oh, no. No, I guess they are. They are from last week before we lost. So I don't know what they look like incorporating the wins and losses from today's matches. But the power rankings had us ranked at the top of the APAC region, with the Shanghai Dragons, who we defeated in the first weekend, going from 1st to 4th. Philly actually moved up from 10th overall to 3rd in the entire league, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Top ranked team is Dallas, then San Francisco, Philadelphia, Shanghai, and LA Gladiators were your top 5 in the power rankings for the week. Again, I do not think it incorporates the match we have already lost, so I do expect that number to fall a little bit, hopefully not by too much. I'd like to be in the top 6, top 7 power rank, but we'll see. And again, another big issue I have is, where are the rookies right now? Obviously, you came out strong, 2-0. You're feeling confident. This week, you had that confidence paid back to you in spades. You have to come back a little bit. You have to regroup, and you have to get going. I hope that their mental fortitude and their strength, their whatever you need inside that noggin is good enough to get past it. And I hope they come out strong tomorrow morning against Chengdao to send a message, and then do the same thing on Saturday to the LA Valiant and Sunday to the Spark. I would love for the first regional tournament of the 2022 Overwatch League, the Kickoff Clash, coming to your Fusion. If for no other reason, then it could take that monkey off their back, that they always get to the big one, but they can never close it out sort of mantra that has followed this team since the very first season when they got to the grand finals and were shown the door early. I'm hoping that a win in this kickoff clash, which does seem feasible, you just have to figure Seoul out, right? You just have to figure out the Seoul Dynasty, who you would meet most likely in the finals of that regional tournament, if they end up seeded 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. I need to see what they can do in those situations. I need to see what they can do in longer matches. I need to see what they can do in like drag out fights. I like what I'm seeing most so far. The fact that both of the matches last week were the MVP of the match were won by rookies. Belisara for match 2, and I believe it was Zest or MN3 for match 1. I could be wrong about that. Just absolutely out of their minds play from these rookies, guided by the coach and Carpe and stuff like that. They had the regression. I need to see them get back into form. I don't want them to now continue to regress as in, oh man, we lost our first match. It's all ruined now. What are we going to do? That sort of thing. You need to get out of that headspace. You need to come back tomorrow morning before I even wake up again and show them what you're made of. Show the Chengdu Hunters that you can take them and you have no problem with them. Go to 3-1. Keep that positive map differential going. And hopefully it turns into a berth into the regional tournament next week. We do need to beat the Valiant and the Hangzhou Spark also. I am confident in one of those, not so much the other, but I am willing to say that they beat Chengdao, they beat LA, and they lose to Hangzhou, giving them 4-2 with a most likely positive map differential. And I think that will be enough to earn them a 4th, possibly 3rd seed in the kickoff clash regional tournaments next week. Would I prefer them to have the 3rd seed? Yes, I would, because that would likely mean that they avoid Seoul in the first round of the regional tournament. They wouldn't get Seoul until the finals, which isn't great, but you can't control that. Getting up to that 3rd seed or staying in the 3rd seed where they are now would guarantee them most likely a match that would not be the Seoul Dynasty, which I would prefer. But we'll see how things plan out. We have 3 more days of matches coming up here, and then by this time next week, I'll know what we're working with as far as the Fusion are concerned, and I will bring you that analysis in episode 99 coming up next week. But coming up after the break, we go down into the summer games mess, hot gaming summer, wet hot gaming summer, whatever you want to call it, and break down the events coming out in June, what's already scheduled, what probably will be scheduled soon, and what you can look forward to in all of those events. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 98. Chugging right along here, we are going to talk about the upcoming summer of video games with plenty of events and live streams to watch with big announcements across the entire gaming industry. Now, I'm only going to go over things that are a little more recent or a little more coming soon. I don't want to get into the entire summer's worth of events because there are a lot, and there are some that are still not scheduled. Heck, there are still some that are still not scheduled in this range that I'm talking about right now, in just the mid-June range. We don't know when these things are going to happen yet. We have an idea, we can make a prediction, but we don't know. We don't know when certain things are going to happen, when they're going to get scheduled, and when things are going to be announced. But what we do know, and the first one on the list here, is Summer Game Fest, the Jeff Keighley run vehicle for gaming news and announcements and world premieres and stuff like that. The summer version of the Video Game Awards, just minus the awards, is the easiest way to describe it. That kicks off June the 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will give us everything we need as far as what Jeff Keighley has in store announcements-wise for us. Last year, his event made huge waves by landing Elden Ring as part of his announcements. It was a huge coup, and good for him to get it. One of the biggest announcements from that show, the last announcement from that show, I should say, was Elden Ring, which ended up coming out this February to rave critical acclaim. So having that show as part of his was pretty cool. He's debuted last year. He debuted a whole bunch of other trailers too. Saints Row, I believe, debuted for the first time at that show, and a couple of other big ones. I'm trying to find. I thought I had a list around here that I'm trying to read as I am talking to you. I don't know where that list may have went, but it was I remember it being a very clean and very fun show. I remember it being like the first of its kind sort of thing that he did Summer Games Fest with a lot of really, really cool games. Like I mentioned, the Elden Ring, and I mentioned the Saints Row debuted there, I believe. Saints Row may have debuted at Gamescom, now that I'm thinking about it. I may have to retract that statement. But yeah, so Elden Ring game was first gameplay trailer was revealed there. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, that's what I'm thinking of, was also debuted at Summer Games Fest, which it came out this year as well. Metal Slug Tactics was a big one. It's a new take on a classic SNK franchise. Death Stranding's director's cut was announced last year during this event. Jeff Goldblum's helped reveal Jurassic World Evolution 2 last year, and then a bunch of different little announcements here and there. Excuse me. But I will say that it was a fun event. I'm looking forward to this next one. I don't know how many games he'll have. His shows usually have between 30 and 40 big announcements, whether they're updates for previously known games, world premieres, first of reveals. I mean, he calls everything a world premiere, but like first reveals of games that have never been seen before, hence Tiny Tina's Wonderlands last year, and things like that. So that's the one that's going to start things off this year. And then we're going to go right into the Tribeca Games Spotlight. Now, Tribeca Games Spotlight is something that they started last year, again, with Mr. Keeley at the helm. And it's just a highlight of games that would fit into the, Tribeca Film Festival sort of motif. Like games that are interactive, tell really deep narrative stories, are engaging, stuff like that. So last year it had Harold Halibut, which tried something new with its whole claymation look. Kena Bridge of Spirits was part of it last year. So that's the kind of game we're looking at here. This year's selection has already been named, headed by Plague Tale Requiem, which is the direct sequel to Plague Tale Innocence. More of that game, which was a very big surprise hit from that year. I believe it came out in 2017, I want to say, Plague Tale Innocence. This one is going to keep following Amicia and her brother Hugo from the first game into the new game, still dealing with weird supernatural things going on. Or it's an interest. I'm looking forward to this one a lot. I do have to finish Innocence, but the first one is very, very good. Second game is called American Arcadia. It's a 70s retro set in a 70s retro futuristic metropolis where all of its citizens enjoy a life of luxury and comfort, not knowing that they're being broadcast live 24/7. So Truman Show, but for an entire city, and you're playing through it in a puzzle platformer, which is pretty cool. Third one, As Dusk Falls, an original interactive drama from a studio called Interior Night that explores the entangled lives of two families across 30 years. This one is notable for its visual style, where everyone looks like they're in a moving painting, has one of those sort of looks to it. Very interested to see more of this one. The characters involved looked almost real, but they have like these little stills as the scenes instead of like full motion. It's very, very cool looking demo. The trailer that came out. So I would recommend taking a look at that. The next one is Cuphead, Delicious Last Course. I've talked about Cuphead many, many times. This is the DLC coming out to Cuphead in June 30th, actually, is when that's going to come out. More bosses, new island, more Cuphead gameplay. Very much looking forward to that one. That's a nice selection there. Next one is called Immortality. This is made by Sam Barlow, who also made Her Story and Telling Lies, which incorporates real life photography and real life movie or film video, and puts it into a game, and you have to use clues and stuff like that to figure out what happened and figure out the mystery. Like Her Story used testimony clips that she was giving to the police about a certain case, and you're just digging into the files and looking for information and trying to solve the mystery. This is the third of his interactive trilogy. Very, very excited to see what's going on with that one. Next one is Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals, a surprise sequel to Oxenfree that was announced at an indie world back in December, I want to say. In the small coastal town of Kamina, unnaturally occurring electromagnetic waves are causing interference with electrical and radio equipment, and the main character, Riley, returns to the hometown to investigate the mystery. If you have not played the first game, apparently it is very, very, very good. It is on my list to play. I did miss it. It came out in 2016, I want to say, something like that. And this next one is looking to come out this year. Published by Netflix, though, this one, because the creator of the game, Night School, was purchased by Netflix while this game was in development. So I wonder what's going on with that. It might be Netflix's first actual published game. I'd have to look into that, or one of the first. But that is one of the selections here as well. Next one is The Cub. This one, I'm not really too familiar with this one. It is a world premiere. First time it's ever been revealed. I imagine there will be a trailer during Summer Games Fest. The story behind it is Welcome to Earth. After the great climate catastrophe where only the ultra-rich managed to evacuate to Mars, decades have passed, and those on Mars venture back to Earth to collect specimens like a safari hunt. As the Cub, a mutant orphan immune to the toxins that killed off most of humanity, players will be hunted by a science expedition and must run to safety amongst the ruins of Earth. Sounds like a nice, fun, light-hearted sort of game. I'm kidding, of course, but it does sound very, very good. Looking forward to see that one. And then Thirsty Suitors. This was a game that really shocked some people. It was like a turn-based fighting, dating sim. There's a lot of stuff going on here. A really wild first trailer in this one, but definitely one that looks cool as well. Definitely in the Annapurna Interactive motif. A lot of the games they publish have their own sense of style and originality to them, and this is definitely one of those. So one to look forward to as well. And then Venba, which I believe is the last one of the list. Indeed it is. Venba is a Canadian game created by Visai Games, a narrative cooking game centered around an Indian mother who immigrates to Canada with her family in the 80s. You will cook dishes, restore recipes, and have conversations with your family and other characters as you explore the story about family, love, loss, and more. It kind of sounds like Coffee Talk, if you haven't ever played that indie game, Coffee Talk, where you're just a barista in a coffee shop for like demons and the damned and stuff like that, and you just have these conversations, and that builds the story. Not a whole lot of like explosive action to it, but the story it tells is very, very good. But that is your Tribeca Games Festival 2022 selections. That is happening right after Summer Games Fest. Summer Games Fest is Thursday, June 9th. Tribeca is the next day at 3 p.m. Eastern, and you can stream that on the Game Awards Twitch channel along with the Summer Game Fest. And then that Sunday, June the 12th, is the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, where I'm just kind of hoping that Xbox has something to show, because as far as first-party releases are concerned, they don't really have a whole lot going on in 2022, thanks to Starfield and Redfall getting bumped to 2023. I hope that they can wow us, not only with some games coming in the holiday season, but maybe a shadow drop or two. If they want to give us some games coming in 2023, they're probably going to do that, but I am more interested in things that are coming out this year. I'd like to see some Somerville, a highly anticipated indie game of mine that debuted at the showcase last year. Replaced was another one, but that was already delayed to 2023. And I'd like to see some more on Perfect Dark. I'd like to see some more on Fable. I'd like to see, there's a lot of projects out there that Xbox and Bethesda are working on. I'd like to see more of those, plus all the crazy things they'll add to Game Pass. And then finally, we have two other shows in June to keep an eye on. The first one is the PC Gaming Show. It is a PC-focused show, but they always have announcements for games that are coming out multi-platform as well. That is Sunday night, June the 12th, the same day as Xbox, just later in the day. And then finally, the Future Games shows. Future Publishing, who runs Games Radar and a couple other websites, have done a few of these in the past, coming back for 2022. And this one is supposed to be a full hour long, full of announcements across brand new games and updates and stuff like that. So those are the ones that you should be focusing on that are already scheduled. And then the two to keep an eye on that may get scheduled between now and the end of the month are a new Nintendo Direct. Nintendo usually has their big Nintendo Direct in the second Tuesday of June, around where E3 would fall, which this year would be the 14th. So don't be surprised if the 14th at 10 a.m. there's a bunch of Nintendo news breaking thanks to a Nintendo Direct. And then PlayStation. We don't know what PlayStation's going to do. We don't know what their plans are. We have not given any indication that they're going to do anything. I imagine that we will get some sort of briefing, some sort of live stream event where they reveal some things. They have some questions about 2022 as well, namely God of War Ragnarok's status in it. But I feel like they may wait until July just to give them some distance between everybody else. They're not lost in the cacophony of the Summer Games Fest week sort of thing. But we'll see. We'll see if PlayStation wants to jump in head first with everybody else, maybe that Monday, June 13th, or that Wednesday, June 15th, or if they're going to wait it out and try and do something in July or possibly later in the summer. That's where we stand as far as big gaming events to keep an eye on. I know I personally will be watching as many of them as I can, and I will bring you as much news as I can as it breaks throughout those live streams. Now, coming up after the break, in honor of the Summer Games Fest festivities that are coming up between all the different press conferences, I figured I would go back in time and talk about my favorite reveal trailers or favorite trailers, the trailers I remember the most whenever I think of big time gaming trailers from back in the day. These are the ones that I watch regularly still to this day. Some of them have different meaning for me now than when they first debuted, but still a very cool thing to do. So yeah, we'll talk about some of the best gaming trailers, in my opinion, coming up after the break. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Cheesesteaks and Controllers, episode number 98, wrapping things up this week with talking about the best trailers in video game history. In my personal opinion, obviously there is no objective list of the greatest trailers ever made. This is strictly what I think. Whenever I think of old gaming trailers, this is where I go, or where my mind goes, as far as the best ones I have ever seen. I have been watching game trailers for a very long time. I've seen a lot from different E3s. I have seen there have been many trailers throughout the years, and it takes a very special one for me to consistently think, that was really one of the best trailers I've ever seen. So this is a very interesting list. It was an interesting list to put together. And the first one I'm actually going to say is one of the Legend of Zelda games. Now, this is not one you would think of. Obviously, you would think of the E3 2017, the Switch event, Switch presentation 2017 Breath of the Wild trailer, which is excellent. Don't get me wrong. Any of the Breath of the Wild trailers are excellent, if I'm being completely honest. But one that I think of when I think of Zelda trailers is, of course, E3 2004, when the Twilight Princess, what ended up being the Twilight Princess trailer, was shown for the first time, and Miyamoto appears on stage with his shield and his sword, and they have a whole discussion about the new Zelda game coming to GameCube at the time, ended up being on Wii as well, and being Twilight Princess. So that is definitely one that will always stick out for me. Again, the Switch presentation 2017 Breath of the Wild trailer, also excellent. And I imagine that more excellent Zelda Breath of the Wild trailers are coming, hopefully in the Nintendo Direct that I mentioned, that usually happens in June. But we will see. We will see that. But the Twilight Princess 2004 E3 trailer will always be special to me. Just because I remember how hype I was. My friends and I watched that so many times. It is unfathomable how excited we were for that game. Next one, similar time frame, still in the 2004-2005 era. There is a game, there's a song that's associated with a movie normally, but after this moment, it became associated with a video game as well. And I only have to say two words to seasoned, longtime gamers, and they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And those two words are Mad World. The Gears of War Mad World trailer from that game. I believe that came out in the 2005. I don't know if it was E3 2005 or a different event. But that trailer still sits with me and still rocks to this day. The use of Mad World, which is a cover on its own, but the version that came out of Donnie Darko, the very somber piano, like very very morose sounding, melancholy sounding voice, just fit the tone of that trailer so well. It is an absolute masterclass in making a trailer, and it came out all the way in the mid 2000s. If you have not seen that trailer, if you're a younger folk who haven't been playing games for as long as I have and don't know that trailer, or if you are an older person who remembers that trailer and wants to take a nice trip down memory lane, go check that one out. That is definitely one that you should seek out again, just to remind yourself of how great that trailer was. Not going in any chronological order here, so I'm going to jump around a little bit. Halo had two phenomenal trailers. One was at E3 2002, the reveal of Halo 2, where Cortana says, "What if you miss?" And he says, "I won't." I remember goosebumps from that trailer. Absolute goosebumps. That was the first game I ever owned on the original Xbox, and I got it at the same time as the original Xbox. I'll never forget Halo 2, and I'll never forget that trailer. And similarly, the Halo 3 reveal in, I want to say, 2006, E3 2006, where he comes out in the bubble shield, there's a bunch of commotion, and he walks through the dust for the first time, and you hear that rousing Halo theme. You see the bubble shield, and then he starts fighting. Oh man, that trailer too. I just goosebumps just thinking about it. I remember the first time I watched that trailer, I immediately stopped what I was doing and watched it again. And I think I watched it a third time just in that sitting. Just an absolute masterclass again in trailers, in getting people hyped for a game. Researching this list was great, and I'm probably going to do more research after the segment was over, just because of how cool all of these trailers were. Halo in general has a very strong lineage of trailers, but the 2 and 3 are the ones where I have the most love. But Reach are good. ODST had some decent ones. 4 had some good ones. 5, now we're getting into crazy territory. Next one is, obviously, I'm going to talk about this one. I talked about those trailers as much as I could for whenever I could. Super Smash Bros. But I had trouble picking which Super Smash Bros. Game I wanted to talk about. It was Brawl at E3 2006 introduced Snake. That's an iconic trailer, if you ask me. But then the quality of trailer went way higher in the Wii U 3DS and then eventually Ultimate era. It's hard to pick just one, honestly. If I had to pick one, the one that like is an iconic moment for me personally is during the Wii U 3DS era, Little Mac, the Little Mac reveal trailer, because I wanted Little Mac in more than any other character, even before Brawl was announced. Like Super Smash Bros. Melee, I wanted to play as Little Mac, and then he was in as an assist trophy, and I thought he'll never get in for real, and then he got in for real. And that was huge for me. I loved that. I was so happy. I remember that trailer. I remember where I was when that trailer played for the first time. I remember my reaction. I remember all of it vividly. It's a core memory if we're talking about Disney Pixar metrics. But yeah, so that is a big one. Sephiroth in Ultimate, another one. I was in the exact same basement where I'm recording this right now. I remember that slice happening to Galeem, splitting in half, and me being like, what's going on here? And then that first note, the first note of Sephiroth's theme, I knew what was going on, and I lost my mind. In the same vein, Joker at the Game Awards is a huge one. Sora, obviously, big one, although I wish it had done more to tease Sora. Just the darkness with the fire really wasn't enough. Really gave off Dark Souls vibes, if you're asking me, and then you had the Keyblade swerve at the end. But every one of those Smash Brothers trailers is fantastic. Minecraft, obviously, a huge one as well, broke Twitter. But all the Super Smash Brothers trailers are awesome. I feel like Game Trailers 101 should include that entire series. You just watch them all and see what CG trailers are all about. Those are really, really cool. Going to go back in time for a little bit. Assassin's Creed, another franchise that does very, very good trailers. But I think the first one, the one that really put them on the map, and the one that sticks in my head whenever I think of Assassin's Creed trailers, is E3 2011, would have been Assassin's Creed Revelations. The one with Ezio in the tower that Iron from Woodkid plays. That song with the heavy brass and the huge like drum and bass underneath. It's just a phenomenal trailer with a phenomenal song. It's one of those trailers where song and visual come together effortlessly, even though they're not technically related to each other. It's kind of like how Mad World Gears of War did. Just a fantastic piece of gaming cinema for a trailer at E3 now 11 years ago. Holy moly, 11 years ago that trailer came out. I remember being in the theater, my first ever live attended Ubisoft conference. I was lucky enough to be in that room and see that trailer live. Super duper cool. And there have been other good Assassin's Creed trailers since. I think Valhalla had a really, really good cinematic trailer as well. But that Revelations one will stick in my head forever. But if we're talking about reveal trailers, I think the most effective reveal trailer for me, at least in recent times, in like the last 7 or 8 years, there's a couple of examples. The first one that comes to my mind, the very first one, is God of War at E3 2016. Panning up to gameplay, you see a boy you've never seen before. He's playing with toys. You don't know what's going on. You hear that voice coming from the house, the figure shrouded in darkness, and then he walks out, and he comes out of the shadow, and it's Kratos, and he's in this completely different setting that we've never seen before, fighting monsters we've never seen before. Just an absolute fantastic way to introduce a game's gameplay and get people excited all in one fell swoop. That was the first of 3 straight E3s where I managed to get to the PlayStation conference early and sit like in the front row and have front row seats for the whole thing. And I will never, ever forget that experience. In fact, my being in that front row and seeing the God of War trailer is immortalized in the Raising Kratos documentary on YouTube that PlayStation put out about God of War's development. It's like the hour 3 mark. I used to know exactly when it was, but I kind of forget now. It's the end of the E3 segment, and there I am, me and Mike Murphy, sitting next to each other, absolutely gobsmacked at what we're seeing on the screen. Just a really, really cool moment that I get to relive whenever I watch a documentary, which I admittedly have done often. So very, very cool stuff there. Also, too, Cyberpunk 2077. This is not a reveal trailer. Technically, it's a reveal of a thing, but it's not a reveal of the game itself. I will say that the initial reveal trailer of that game back in 2011, I want to say, is very, very cool. I rewatched that for this segment. The personal responsibility one. The game definitely changed a lot, but that woman with the blades coming out of her arms really set the tone for that game. I do love at the end of the trailer it says coming when it's ready. That ended up being unfortunately not very true. It came before it was ready. But the trailer is still cool. But the one I'm referencing, obviously, E3 2019 ends with Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves comes out on the stage at Xbox, addresses the fans. You're breathtaking, all that good stuff. That trailer will always be a moment for me as well. Elden Ring actually debuted at that same conference. That was a good conference in retrospect. That's something we should do. Look back at the conferences since E3 is dead. Long live E3, but maybe at another time. But that Cyberpunk 2077 trailer, very cool as well. And the last one we're going to talk about, and the reason I'm putting it last is simply put, because it's for a game that, in all honesty, was not great. The game that this trailer references did not turn out, to be a blockbuster. It did not turn out to be an end-all, be-all. It did not turn out to be very, what they wanted it to be. It was good. It was not great, but the trailer, my goodness, probably the best, or at least the most memorable CG trailer I will ever see. And the reason I give it a bump is because it's for a game that is a little less regarded, revered, however you want to put that. But the trailer will still, and now it's even more effective with circumstances being what they are. That's Dead Island. Dead Island E3 2011 reveal, or 2011 reveal, just before E3, I think. With the trailer going backwards and forwards and meeting in the middle where the family is coming down for vacation for the first time and very, very happy and checking out the resort, and then the zombies are attacking at the end, and the way that they just meet with the two reaching for each other, just chilling stuff from Techland back in the day. Again, another 11-year-old trailer, but one that I will never forget watching. That's another one where I watched it and I immediately watched it again, but for a completely different reason than the Halo one I was talking about before. The Halo one, I was hyped out of my skin to play that game. This one just really stuck with you, right? And again, the game did not turn out great. I did appreciate the Easter egg of that trailer where, like, you see the room where it happened. If you look for it, it is there. But that trailer will always stick with me. And whenever somebody says best video game trailers of all time or most memorable video game trailers of all time, Dead Island will always have a place in that conversation, even if the game itself did not turn out the way that people wanted it to. And with that, we are at the end of episode 98 of Cheesesteaks and Controllers, one episode closer to episode 100. Cheesesteaks and Controllers is brought to you by Fox PHL The Gambler, 102.5 FM, 1480 AM, iHeartRadio Philadelphia. Also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to this voice. And if you are listening to this voice right now at the end of the episode, as I say every single week, I am very appreciative that you have given me an hour of your time, whether it's in a car ride or sitting at home or whatever it is. I appreciate you coming on here and listening to me talk to you about esports and video games. Hope you learned something. Hope you were entertained. Hope you enjoyed what you heard, even if it's just the sound of my voice. If you like the way my voice sounds, cool. I appreciate that. If you don't, but you like the information, then, hey, you're still here. And again, if you are listening to this part, I cannot say enough how much I appreciate that you are listening to the end of this show, and that you've made it this far. Next week, episode number 99, we'll talk about the games I would like to see coming up in the hot gaming summer, hot, wet American gaming summer, whatever we were calling it. Games I would like to see more information on, potential reveals, stuff like that. We'll get into that nitty-gritty. Talk more about the Fusion, see what they're doing after this weekend, see what the kickoff clash looks like. Hopefully we're talking about a bid in the top 4. And whatever else might be happening in the world of esports and gaming, we will cover it 1 week before episode 100. Oh boy, it is on the horizon. I am very excited about it. I cannot wait to share with you what's going on in episode 100. But until next week for 99, I hope you have a fantastic holiday weekend. I hope you have a fantastic week right behind it. And I look forward to bringing you more of the best of esports and gaming, as I do every single week here on Cheesesteaks and Controllers. Thank you, and goodbye.